Hey there, how's it going? This is Real Talk Baseball. I'm Cole's Baseball. With me is Will Power. Old school and on the Friday. What's going on, man?
Yes. I love that you're here, man. I love it. This is the original duo back together for
Yeah,
one night
man.
only. I mean, maybe one night only. Maybe we'll get together a couple more times before the season starts. But I love
Of
it, man. I'm,
course.
I'm glad you're here.
Dude, I just feel like a lot of people think, hey, what's going on with these guys? They're fighting or not even that. I said this a lot of times already. Like the reason why we're doing this is because we have two shows and we want to grow the channel and it has been growing. So if you're out there, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking the show. I mean, we couldn't do it without you guys. We're already at 433, which is a good number. We're trying to get to that 500. So if you're on here right now, please like that video and hit that subscribe button. We have a great show for you guys today for sure. We do have the latest news on trades, which we are planning to get on Tuesday for the trading deadline. We still haven't have a time. I don't know if we're going to get on an hour before or 30 minutes before. We haven't agreed on that, right? I know,
Yeah,
we're
but
excited for it.
I'll definitely post something on Instagram and on Facebook to let everyone know that the time. I'm
Yeah,
thinking an hour before the deadline, so that way there's a lot of things that are going to happen within that hour. So I don't want to be late to the party. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like there's already a lot of trades that have gone through, but there's still a lot of players that are on the block. So
Yeah,
I feel in that last hour, that's when the GMs of each team are they have five different other teams on the line, all
yeah,
talking to each other, putting each other on hold, and trying to figure out how to make things work. And that last
yeah.
hour is going to be crucial.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy. I have a question for you before we go ahead and start with our topics.
Shoot it.
How do you know? How do you know? And this is kind of like a fantasy question because you're managing your own team, right? And you need to try to plug in the players to get into the playoffs. As a GM, like how do you know when it's time to start selling your team? Because this year, as just like last year, there's a lot more playoff teams, right? You have the wild card, you have three spots, and you have the three spots that win the division. When do you pull the plug? Do you pull it like 6 games out of the division, out of the wild card, or it has to be more games or lower games? And I'm asking because you know how the Padres are there. You have the Cubs are there. You have the Angels, which they're playing great ball right now, and you know that's why I'm asking. So I want to hear your answer on this.
I think that there is basically a definitive line that could definitely like determine if you should be sellers or buyers or just hold, right? And
Yeah,
I think by maybe a couple weeks after the All-Star break, so let's say exactly a month before the trade deadline, if you're
yeah,
not above 500 or even a little bit above 500, I think it's time to sell if you do have pieces to sell. And it also depends on what division you're in, because if you're looking at like the American League, like the big talk is about Shohei Ohtani not getting traded. He's off the trade block, and the Angels had just traded for Lucas Giolito, and that's great, but do they look like a World Series team? Hell no, they don't look like a World Series team. Shohei Ohtani is great, but he is all their offense right now, and he is all their pitching right now. Other than Ohtani, who just pitched a 9-inning shutout and hit 3 home runs in the same day, and hit for the cycle, I believe. Like that's
nah, nah. Has he?
I think he
No,
hit for the
he
cycle.
has. Not yesterday though, but he has hit for the cycle, but not it didn't happen
Well,
yesterday.
in if you put the two games together, I think he hit for the cycle.
Oh, okay. I was like, damn, for real? Like I missed that? Like
but
how?
I but he did
Yeah.
have 3 home runs that day, in the two games. And he
Okay.
pitched a 9-inning shutout. I think it was like
Yeah.
he only allowed like two or three hits,
One
and
hit. One hit.
one hit. Jeez, the
Yeah.
freaking
Yeah.
beast, man. And
Yeah.
it's just incredible what this guy is doing. And imagine the haul that the Angels could get for a player like this. And then they decide to be buyers instead. And they go out and get Lucas Giolito. Lucas Giolito's fine, but he's not a game changer. So if you're really going out there and you're trying to win the division, you're trying to at least make the wild card so that way you can make a World Series push. I don't know, man. You're going to need a lot more than just Lucas Giolito. You need bullpen help. You're going to need at least another arm, maybe Marcus Stroman. You're going to need some bats too, because all the offense is coming from Shohei Ohtani. And if he hits 2 solo home runs, that's great for him. That's great for his counting stats, his home run totals, because he leads the league in home runs. I think he's leading the league in RBI and OPS as well. And, that's great for him, for his value going into the offseason next season because of, his free agency. But I think the Angels need to focus more on winning in the future when you know that you could actually win. When's the last time that the Angels actually made it to the playoffs and actually did something that was noteworthy? The last
I can't remember that.
Early 2000s,
Probably. I mean, I don't know if Bernie's watching, put it on here, man. He's an Angel fan, but I think the last time was probably 05. I want to say a little bit sooner than in the later years, but I don't know. I mean, dude, it's kind of crazy. The trade deadline has a lot to do with fantasy as well, like, because you see all these moves, like, and dude, I think we got a little bit off topic because we got into the Ohtani already. We started talking about that, but we do have I'll just go ahead and say we do have injury report where Will has the whole list for you guys. If you don't know what's going on, we'll talk about it. Of course, we have highlight players that we want to either keep, trade high. Like, when is the trading deadline in fantasy baseball? Does every fantasy baseball have a different what do you call it, different trade, when is the last day, or they can trade whenever they want?
Yeah, so there's a generic date that every league has, that Yahoo has a specific date, ESPN has a specific date, but you can change it as a commissioner. So I believe I changed ours to August 8th. So ours is coming up also.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, man, we have those highlighted players for sure, and will give us that, and the 2-star pitchers. Don't forget that, because I know there's a lot of people that see this show for the 2-star pitchers, and why not? We'll gathers all this information. See, there you go, Ernie. Angels going for it all.
So last playoff appearance was 2014, and I believe they got knocked out in the first round. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but when was the last time that they made the playoffs where it was actually pretty significant, where it looked like they could actually look like a World Series team, basically? I'm glad you're watching, Ernie. Glad you're there to answer this question right now.
Dude, okay, so let's get into it, dude. Let's talk about the injuries, man. You have the injury list going right there?
Yeah, there's a lot, man. There is a lot of injuries that have happened in the last couple weeks, and there's a lot of injuries that are actually on the brink of these players coming back. So just to get right into it, Corey Seager goes on the IL with right thumb sprain. So most likely, these little thumb sprains, it's probably only going to be a minimum stint on the IL. But there's not really a lot of shortstop replacements out there. So hopefully you already have another shortstop in your lineup that you could just replace Corey Seager with. In the beginning of the season, we were talking about how shortstop was like one of the deepest divisions, and it's kind of dwindled down ever since then. But just looking at the free agent list now, if you're going like roster rate, like I always try to recommend under 70%, because a lot of times most leagues have they're already going to be taken if they're over 70% owned. So I'm looking at a potential Tommy Edman return. He's supposed to be returning from the IL pretty soon. So, depending on Corey Seager, if he actually stays on the IL for a significant amount of time, Tommy Edman would be a decent replacement until then, especially if you're in a categories league because of all the stolen bases. Thairo Estrada is supposed to be coming back soon. Javi Baez, he's been struggling, but if you're in a categories league, he still has some pop in his bat. Looks like not lately. He's only batting 182 in the last week, so maybe stay clear away from him. Ahmed Rosario. So if you can get Ahmed Rosario, maybe the Dodgers can actually work some magic with Ahmed Rosario, and going into like kind of the trade talks. Ahmed Rosario traded to the Dodgers, and he's most likely going to be platooning at shortstop just because they have so many different bats, but that could all
Yeah.
change within the next couple days with this trade deadline. They could be getting rid of some players that could be taking some time away from Ahmed Rosario.
I believe he's gonna be doing split squad, and he's gonna be batting because I think he hits better when the lefties are on the mound. So I think he's gonna be kind of alternating in that sense. Right?
Yeah, kind of like the same as some other players that we'll get into later.
Yeah, you don't want to give it all away.
Right. Houston Astros activate Jose Altuve and Yordan Alvarez. So if they are on your IL, make sure you activate them as soon as possible. Both of those guys have potential to be game changers and could potentially help you win your league. Max Fried was slated to make his 4th rehab start, but is battling an illness, and he is still on track to rejoin the Braves rotation sometime next week. It looks like that rehab start is actually going to be rescheduled for tomorrow, so look for him to be back in your lineups probably next weekend. AJ Minter made a rehab appearance on Tuesday, going 1 inning. He allowed 2 hits while striking out 1. Raisel Iglesias is pretty locked in and in the closer role for the Braves, but I think Minter should be like first in line to get save opportunities if anything does happen to Iglesias. If your league rewards holds, Minter should definitely be rostered in most categories leagues and deeper points leagues. And keep an eye on Iglesias. If you do hear anything about him, make sure you add AJ Minter ASAP. Baltimore Orioles slugger Cedric Mullins was placed on the injured list on Wednesday with an adductor strain. Says he doesn't have a timetable for his return, unfortunately. Jared Kelenic fractured his foot kicking a water cooler. We actually covered that last week. Unfortunately, that's 2 outfielders that are out for who knows how long. Another one is Starling Marte as well, who's been out with dealing with migraines for the Mets. So unfortunately, that's 3 outfielders that a lot of people have lost. And outfield is pretty deep, but there are a lot of replacements out on the waiver wire. So if you do have any questions about any of these players, please hit us up either on YouTube. You can comment on this video, or go to our Instagram and just search Real Talk Baseball, or if you already follow us, just send us a message. And usually I'm pretty good about messaging back pretty quick. Gunnar Henderson has sat since Wednesday with lower back discomfort, but is not expected to hit the IL and should be back in the Orioles lineup today versus the Yankees. Red Sox shortstop Trevor Story made his long-awaited rehab start last weekend at Double-A, collecting 2 hits in 3 games, including a home run. And then this past Monday at the Triple-A affiliate, going 2 for 3 with a double and a single. Clearly still has some power, slugging .727. So are we adding Trevor Story? I think in deeper leagues, he's definitely worth an add, and depending on who you have at second base and shortstop. I don't believe he has shortstop eligibility yet in most leagues because he only played second base prior to his injury with the Red Sox. But he should be getting that shortstop eligibility soon now that Bogarts is gone.
Of course.
Chris Sale is slated to make his first rehab start this coming Tuesday. Corey Kluber made his first rehab start, tossing 2 scoreless innings on 35 pitches, allowing 1 hit, no walks while striking out 2. Are we adding Corey Kluber, currently 2% rostered? Honestly, I don't think that Corey Kluber is worth rostering. He's not the guy we used to love, back with the old Indians, now the Guardians. So
Guardians.
I think in deeper leagues, maybe he might be worth a shot, just because there's not really a lot out there in free agency, but I'm definitely steering clear from Corey Kluber. Mike Clevenger is scheduled to make his return to the White Sox rotation this Saturday versus the Guardians. Are we adding Clevenger, currently 14% roster? His strikeout rate has been down a lot in the past, this season, basically the whole season. So that kind of sucks for him. Ever since
what kind of surprises me though, like he leave on didn't his elbow pop or something when he got injured? That kind of surprises me. He still coming back this year, and
I believe he had surgery already. So he got traded to. Oh no, he got signed by the Padres for a 3-year deal, I think. And the Padres knew that he was going to have Tommy John surgery, and he was going to be out for a full season. And they still signed him anyway because, they saw something in him. But we know that the Padres are not very good at developing their pitchers or hitters or anything like that. So unfortunately, we didn't get the best out of Clevenger. Now, the White Sox it looks like they're kind of similar because, the White Sox haven't been able to do anything with Lance Lynn. So I do like Clevenger, but really it's going to be matchup based. So he's more of like a streaming option for me, especially like if he has a 2-start week and he's going against, a couple weaker lineups. I would definitely roster him then. But other than that, I don't think he's worth rostering in anything less than like a 15-team league. Liam Hendriks pitched in a simulated game last week. His fastball peaked at 93.8 miles an hour, which is 4 miles an hour lower than his 2022 average. But, he is coming off of injury. He is coming off of cancer. I was trying to think of the cancer. Was it leukemia? I believe it was leukemia.
Then I can't even say.
Yeah, that's right. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So
there you go.
Hopefully he'll be able to get his velocity back, but he is a little bit on the older side. He hasn't really been in Major League Baseball for that long because he is from Australia and he pitched over there for a while. But, I think he still has some gas in the tank. So he pitches with a lot of emotion and a lot of passion. And I really like to see that in a pitcher, whether he does good or whether he does bad, he's always in it, mentally and emotionally. So.
He's in it to win it.
Good news for the Reds. Hunter Green started a throwing program and is on track to make a rehab start within the next couple weeks. And we all know that, we talked about the Reds before being like the possible division winners. They're battling with the Brewers right now. Corbin Burns looks like he kind of righted the ship, and Brandon Woodruff coming back soon. So that's going to be a pretty fun battle towards the end of the season to see who's going to take the NL Central. And the NL Central has been like a very weak division in the past few seasons. We haven't really seen much, from any of those teams. Like you look at the Pirates, and that kind of like looks like what the rest of the division has been like for the past few years. But I really like what I'm seeing with the Reds and the Brewers. It's going to be a fun end of the season.
So Hunter Green, man, like, do you think that's enough? Like, if you're an owner, are you gonna rely on Hunter Green to be one of your top starters? Because it's going into the playoffs, right? As a fantasy owner, I mean, and the Reds are high on this guy right now. They're waiting for him to come back. That's why it's kind of like, and I'm talking about real baseball as well. That Hunter Green is coming back, and they're kind of saying like, well, maybe we don't need to make a big trade. Maybe we don't need to trade anybody because we're getting Hunter Green. So as a fantasy owner, you're kind of like, okay, so this guy must be pretty special, right? I can rely on this guy. But he's coming off an injury. Like, do you think it's something that maybe the Reds need to kind of take it slow with this guy?
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but he's also 23 years old, and he really hasn't shown like star power yet. The K percentage is there, this season so far he's at a 31.4 K percentage, and then last season it was at a 30.9. So the strikeouts are there, but the walks are there also. This season he's the based on balls percentage is 9.7. MLB average is 8.4. So he's above the MLB average. The ERA is a little inflated. It's at a 3.93 right now this season in 14 starts. But the xERA, the expected ERA, is actually a little bit lower. It's at a 3.68. Pitching in Great American Ballpark, it doesn't help, because it's definitely a hitter's ballpark. A lot of balls just fly a lot. And he does give up a lot of pop-ups, and he allows the ball to go in the air a lot. Launch angle is at 19%, 19 degrees. I'm sorry, but the expected batting average is only 211. So I'm liking what I'm seeing on soft contact, and this dude throws the ball really freaking hard, man. So I'd like to see him excel. He's 6'5", 240 pounds. He's a big dude. And the Reds could really, really use him right now, towards the end of the season, making that playoff push. And I think that he could actually be a potential game changer. You know, they see him as the future ace, and with the other starting pitchers that the Reds have been counting on this season, like a lot of them are doing pretty good. You know, better than a lot of people expected. So
Yeah.
I think the Reds could actually, you know, give the Brewers a run for their money and possibly take the division if Hunter Green does come back healthy and pitches like, you know, what they're hoping for from him.
Yeah. I honestly think that the Reds not making the playoffs. I think it's all hype.
Yeah,
And I mean, I could be wrong, but it's just the way that I see it with them. They're too young. They need that one
that is a
older
big
guy.
issue. Is they
Yeah.
are extremely young. Their team is
Yeah.
full of 21, 22, and 23-year-olds with old man Joey Votto sitting back in the corner and watching with his 208 batting average.
They're getting all grouchy and getting mad and stuff. Like, yeah, but I feel like they need that one veteran. Joey Votto is not it. It's someone else. But I mean, we'll see. It'll play out. It'll play out. You still have Oh, yeah, you still have your list.
Yeah,
Okay.
we still have a little more to go through.
Yeah,
Shane
yeah,
Bieber
go
was
for it,
put
go
on the
for it.
60-day IL, so trade talks have ceased. Currently, no timetable for his return, but he won't be eligible to return at least until September 10th. And it looks like it's actually going to be a little bit longer than that. They're talking about he might not
Yeah.
even be able to pitch at all the rest of the season, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's it for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because of the team that he's on. You know, it doesn't really look like they're probably going to be making too much of a playoff run. You know,
So
the
see,
division.
that's what I was gonna get to. Like you mentioned how you have these teams that are like, let's just be real. Like these teams that like the Guardians, they don't have a big star team to where like, okay, we're 6 games, 5 games out of the playoffs. It's time. I'm gonna
Well,
go ahead and trade
maybe.
someone, and you
Maybe
know,
because they're only a game and a half behind the
no, that's what
Twins
I'm
in the
saying. They're
division.
only a game and a half, but you see your team and you're like, and of course your division, but you see your team and you're like, okay, I don't have the star power to go all the way in because, like, let's just talk about it. Let's say like the Padres. The Padres, if they're there, and I will rely more on their star power than the Guardians to go all in to say I'm gonna go ahead and trade for a big time pitcher, and I'm gonna do that. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like these trades that are happening, and even if they go after like someone like uh, I don't know, the guy from the Tigers, he's pitching really good,
Eduardo Rodriguez.
and Rodriguez, no one's talking about him. Why?
Yeah.
Like he's a good trade. He should be on everybody's radar.
It's
He's
a very
pitching
long,
excellent.
expensive contract. You know, that I
Does
think
he?
that's the only reason why. If the Tigers are actually willing to take part of that contract to pay for part of his contract,
Doubt it.
I
I
think
doubt it.
that yeah, exactly. The Tigers don't really have a
Yeah.
lot of money. You know, they paid a
Yeah.
lot of money for him, and they saved money like in other places. Miguel Cabrera is going to be coming off the books soon, so
Yeah.
it's hard when you're a struggling team and you don't have money. You know, not
Yeah.
all teams could be like the 2004 Oakland A's or whatever year that was.
04. Yeah.
Was it?
02, that I think it was 2002 when they did that Moneyball. That's when they first experimented with that. So, yeah, that's what it is. I didn't mean to cut you off, man. It's just I got excited.
No, you're good. You're good. Cut me off whenever you wanna, you know, throw something in there.
Hey,
All right.
we have go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We got World Profound. What's up, dudes? What's up, man? How's it going? We got Javi in the house. How's it going, dude? Everything good around here, man. Just keeping up with all the updates, news, trades, and like injuries for sure. And Will has all of them right now. So I'm just hearing a bunch of them right now. I'm like, oh, cool. I think I have this guy, so I'll go ahead and put him on my roster. All right, man. Go ahead, Will.
Just want to give a shout out to Javi's brother, Jose Velasquez. He says, "Que onda, foos? What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Glad you could join in on the show. Unfortunately, your brother's not on the show tonight. He had some things that he needed to take care of tonight, missing his presence. But he says, "Sup, fellas? Sorry I couldn't make it. Been hectic. I'll try to make it to the trade deadline show for sure. which we already mentioned we are going to be getting on Tuesday. Hopefully about an hour before the deadline, no more than a half hour away from the deadline, I'd say, right, Carlos?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if as long as it takes, man, I feel like an hour should be fine, and it shouldn't be like I'm gonna get on that hour. Whoever wants to jump in on that hour, and we can just talk baseball because I know there's gonna be a lot of trades. Like I was telling Ernie in our show, like it was like, it's like Christmas for baseball. You know, like this is
Yeah.
like we're waiting for that time to get there. And we're like, who they traded? They didn't trade anybody. Like, man, that sucks. You know.
This is the most
So
surprising time, of the baseball season because
yeah,
that there's some surprising times in baseball, but usually it kind of like leads up to like something. But it's like the trade deadline, like anything could happen. Like we don't know
yeah,
what the managers are talking about behind closed doors, what they talked
wow,
about, at the winter meetings last year, or what they
yeah,
talked about at the All-Star game when all the GMs were, all at the same place at the same time. So um it's
yeah.
it's it's fun. It's fun
It's
to kind
really
of
fun.
like escape reality for a little bit and kind of like get into this baseball world that we live in, and let's see.
Yeah.
Javi thinks that Arenado is going to be a Dodger. We'll see. So Carlos, I'm glad he actually brought this up because you had something to say about Arenado joining the Dodgers. What was that you were saying?
Okay, so I think the Arenado, like it's a great trade if you go ahead and say he's coming without, us taking his contract. We're taking on his contract. We're taking on all the stuff that that I feel like it's not gonna set us up for I don't know, I guess because the Dodgers are trying to get Otani next year, and that's gonna be something that's gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but anyway, I just feel like I they're giving up too much. You have Muncy that gets on base by walks and he hits for home runs. He has 27 home runs. We said, is that what it is?
Yeah.
And then you have Chris Taylor that hits in the playoffs. So he's one of those pieces where you're thinking like, okay, I can't trade this guy out. But then you have your youngsters, your pitchers that you're looking at Gavin Stone. You're looking at I can't think of these guys' names, but you
Bryce.
have these you
Bryce?
have these
No.
young
Bobby Miller.
which one? Bobby Miller. You're thinking about all these pitchers, and it's like I wouldn't pull the trigger just yet. I feel like the Cardinals want too much. I feel like we're okay right now, but if I would love Arenado here, it's just I just feel like it's just too much for him. Unless you're gonna get a pitcher out of it, which the Dodgers desperately need because I feel like if you don't get a pitcher out of this trade, then you lost the trade because you're only getting a Renato and you're losing 5 to 6 pieces that I feel that are important right now for the Dodgers. Yeah, man, I guess Flaherty, but it's just the Cardinals don't want to give up anything, man. And why should they? They have Arenado with. He just said he's 30 years old. Man, he's still young.
Yeah.
So like yeah. So I don't know. How do you feel about that? Like, do you think that the Dodgers should pull the trigger on this?
Honestly, I think that I definitely don't think that Shohei Otani is overrated, but the type
No.
of contract that he is going to be getting, I think that is just too expensive. And if I were a Dodgers owner, I'd be like, I don't want any part of that contract because you have a guy that's going to get, a half a billion contract or probably more than that, and if he gets hurt, you lose your DH and you lose a starting pitcher. That's
Yeah.
going to be huge, and that's a lot of money that you're spending for a guy that's going to spend time on the IL.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it would be smarter to go after other pieces that would kind of add up to the total amount that you would get for Shohei Otani.
Yeah.
Maybe think of it as like, you could get these 5 players for the same price that you could get Shohei Otani, which is basically 2 players because you're getting the hitter and the pitcher. But the problem also with having Shohei Otani in the lineup is it doesn't leave any room for anyone to DH except for him because he doesn't play a fielding position other than starting pitcher. You can't put him in left field. You can't put him at, second base. So I think it would be more beneficial for the Dodgers to just forget about Otani You know, I know that he's going to put a lot of butts in the seats, and I would welcome him with open arms because he is the best player of this generation, possibly the best player of all time. But I still think that, you know, World Series wise, it takes more than just one guy. And they're going to need to add because Kershaw is getting older, and who knows if they're going to re-sign him for another season next year. His contract is coming off the books as well.
He's injured now, which is kind of like
he's injured every year for almost half a year. I actually just sent Javi a trade for Kershaw. I wanted to try to get Kershaw.
Tell him he's right here. Tell him what's up, man. Hit that accept button.
You know, I offered him Justin Steele, who has been just amazing this year, and you know, to get banged up Kershaw. So it's a gamble. I know that Kershaw is the better pitcher, but which one's going to be there? You know, which one's going to be there in the fantasy playoffs? You know, do I want to try to hold on to Justin Steele, or do I want to go for it and hope that Kershaw is actually going to be, you know, the guy that could potentially be your game winner? You know, it's definitely a conundrum. You know,
so you hit it right on the nail, dude. To be honest, like I think every baseball fan has been seeing this like play out. Like the time we're talking about Ohtani, right? And there's one player, two positions. You're talking about a pitcher and the hitter, and you're talking about the DH. But it's one player you're going to give 600, you know, whatever contract he gets. And you're talking about other players that can come and do the same thing. Now you're talking about different players that are going to help the team get to that World Series. Now with Ohtani, I just feel like if they are going to try to do that and still try to get Arenado, I just feel like it's I don't know. I just feel like you're trading off too many pieces. For me, I feel like the core of the pitching is right now. It's already there. It's already built. You're building that for next year. I'm surprised the Dodgers are doing so good this year. Like I didn't think they were going to be in first place.
Yeah, because it really looked like they were like saving their money to try to go for Ohtani next year.
Exactly.
You know, but honestly, like if you can get like a Nolan Arenado type that is the same age as Shohei Ohtani, by the way, because Ohtani played baseball in Japan for so long that he wasn't eligible to come to the States until he was 26 years old, and the Angels signed him 4 years ago. You know, he's in his 30s, early 30s. He's already had Tommy John surgery, and who knows what the health is going to be like, you know, going forward in the future. This guy steals a lot of bases. He hits for power. You know, he pitches lights out a lot of the time. So he's a great player, but that also brings a lot. He has double the injury concern because he hits and he pitches.
Yeah, so and that's what's scary. It's really scary, but he is scary. But who wouldn't want Ohtani on their team? You know, like
everyone wants Ohtani on their team.
Exactly.
But are you really willing to pay $50 million a year for him? That's the real question. That's the problem. That's
the real question. Yeah.
Because that $50 million could be spread out, and you could get 2 or 3 really, really good starting pitchers. And don't forget that Shohei Ohtani doesn't pitch on a regular schedule. You know, he's more of like
on the 6th.
He pitches in a 6-man rotation. That's what the Angels try to do, and especially now that Lucas Giolito is part of the Angels rotation, so he's definitely not going to be pitching as often as he was before, which is great because it means that he has less chance to get hurt. But you know, 32 starts in a regular 5-man rotation versus what is he going to have, like 25 or 26 starts instead? You know, that's like 6 or 7 potential wins that the Angels could, you know, do without, or you know, any team, whatever team he actually signs with.
Don't fall asleep on the Angels though just yet. Why? Because I feel like they can still make that big trade to where they can go ahead and become something more than what they are now. You saw how he pitched yesterday. You saw how he was hitting. Something like that can spark up a player just like Ohtani got yesterday. You saw that they're putting players into for him to play better. Like it just, you know, there's just those type of players that need, you know, a spark, like a Kike Hernandez. You said that they needed that spark, right? So maybe that's why the Dodgers got him. But then Otani is probably those players that you're bringing someone else that's really good, like to help me. I'm inspired by that. I'm gonna go out there and perform a lot better. So I mean,
I agree.
just imagine,
I agree,
Go ahead.
but that all they've gotten so far was Lucas Giolito, and
So
that's
far,
great. He's a mid starting pitcher that has been considered elite in his career once upon a time. And the problem I see though is kind of like what I said earlier about Otani being all of the offense that the Angels have right now. There's guys that have moments, right? But there's no one consistent on the team other than Mike Trout and Shohei Otani. And
yeah, Mike
it's
Trout's
gonna
in the
be
DIL, so once he comes back, he's gonna help out. So
right. It'll definitely help out because there's your number 3 and your number 4 hitter. And when
yeah,
Brandon Drury comes back from the IL, then that'll help out a little bit too. But that's 3 hitters. I don't think that makes a World Series team. I think they're going to have to trade for some hitting, not just pitching.
we will see, man. That's why we're gonna have this Tuesday show, because this is what we like to talk about. Like, imagine this, imagine that. So those pieces will be dope. Let's continue with the injury, man. I know you were.
All
I
right.
think you left off on.
Yeah,
Was it?
I'll try to get through it pretty quick.
Well, I won't interrupt. I just get excited. That's why.
Yeah, I know. Me too. CJ Cron is day-to-day and has missed the last 4 games with back spasms, but is hopeful to return to the Rockies lineup today. Michael Brantley took live batting practice last Saturday, but still has no timetable on his return. But it does mean that he'll probably return within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And the Astros could definitely use him in that lineup, so that's good. Brandon Drury was seen fielding grounders on Thursday, looks to be on track for a return to the Angels lineup sometime next week. Clayton Kershaw threw a side session Tuesday after originally being scheduled for Monday. He did have a little bit of a setback, but he looks on track to make his return to the Dodgers rotation mid to late August. Blake Trinan has been cleared to start a throwing program and could be in the mix for save opportunities down the stretch, but there's still a chance that his return could be delayed until after the 2023 season. So definitely keep an eye on Blake Trinan. Brandon Woodruff is scheduled to make 2 more rehab starts and could join the Brewers rotation in early August. Jorge Polanco returning this weekend after making 7 rehab starts. In 24 at-bats, Polanco hit .333 with 8 hits, including 1 home run and a double in his rehab starts. With Edouard Julien being so hot at the plate, the Twins had Polanco take reps at third base, and that actually opens up space at second base for Edouard Julien's bat to stay in the lineup. Eventually, when Royce Lewis gets back, there's going to be somewhat of a logjam in the Twins infield. So I don't know really what they're going to do at that point, but we'll cross that path when it comes to it. Nestor Cortez had he had his rehab start in 2.1 innings. He K'd 4 batters while allowing 1 run on 4 hits and no walks. No walks is a good sign for Nestor Cortez. Michael Wacha tossed a 25-pitch bullpen session on Tuesday, and he could return to the Padres rotation in early August. Thairo Estrada began hitting and fielding grounders and should begin a rehab assignment soon. Tommy Edman is set for live at-bats next week and could be activated next weekend. Zach Eflin was removed from Wednesday's start with knee discomfort after giving up 5 runs on 7 hits against Miami. Rays are optimistic that Eflin could make his next start Tuesday versus the Yankees. Hopefully Eflin will be fine because I have him in 2 of my leagues, so it'd be nice to have him kind of get back to form. He was pitching amazing at the beginning of the season, man. Like before the All-Star break, he was looking like the prospect that everyone thought he was going to be. And unfortunately, in the last few starts, he's been giving up a lot of hard contact, giving up a lot of runs. So hopefully he rights the ship. Yandy Diaz left Tuesday's start with groin tightness. This is the second time he's dealt with this injury this season. The first time didn't require an IL stint, so the Rays are hopeful it will clear up on its own again. I believe he's actually in the lineup today as a DH. And that is the end of the injury report.
That was a lot of stuff. I interrupted a lot.
That was a lot.
I feel like I interrupted because I got too excited. I'm like, let me cut him right quick.
Yeah,
All right.
just to reiterate, Jose Velasquez says Eflin got fucked up. Yeah, he did. Unfortunately, I think he got me negative 2.5 points in the points league, and he increased my ERA and my WHIP pretty significantly in the categories league. He says Marlins are his weakness, though. That may be true. He did pitch in Philly, a rival for the Marlins, so I'm sure they saw him a lot of times, and I don't know, maybe there's some kind of the mental thing that's going on with Eflin when he faces teams that part of his division in previous
It
seasons.
happens.
Yeah,
It
it happens.
happens. Yeah.
These players who we just kind of analyze as players are not robots. They're actually people, and people have
Yeah.
emotions, and emotions are a big part of every sport. So
Look at Kershaw when he goes to Arizona. He always gets lit up out there.
or San Francisco
So
or the
yeah. No,
playoffs.
I think. Oh no, you didn't. But you did.
I went there.
Exactly. You took it there. Dang. That's messed up. And you want to trade for Kershaw? How is that possible?
Fantasy playoffs end before the real playoffs. So
Yeah, I get you. All right. You want to go over the news since we talked a little bit about the news, but I mean, we can go ahead and talk about that. The trades. We should have opened with the trades. I think that's something that's pretty, pretty important, right?
yeah, I mean, we can just get right into it. The Brewers acquire Carlos Santana. Does this do anything for his fantasy value? In my opinion, it doesn't.
It
I think that
doesn't.
I don't think so because right now he's like a top 20 first baseman. He's probably like up there like 17, 18, something like that in the first baseman ranks. So if there's that many first basemen rostered, it must be an exceptionally deep league. And in most leagues, he's not even rostered. So honestly, like, it's definitely a park upgrade, but I think that Carlos Santana is just basically, he's just not good anymore. You
Dude,
can't
I,
count
I
on
think
him.
different. I think different. Maybe the change of scenery, and not only that, but going into a team that's going and they're in first place
Dude,
in the division,
he's
it
had
could do
lots of
something.
changes of scenery in the past few years. He has bounced around from so many different teams.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of
yeah,
the teams have the same mentality as you, like, oh, maybe he just needs, something to click for him again. But he's old,
yeah,
man. He's
yeah.
old. His biggest skill in the past was on base percentage, but that's not even there anymore. He's never really been like a home run hitter. He doesn't steal bases, no speed. So I kind of see him as just like possibly like a corner infield option, or a utility player, but there's no way that I would ever want to have Carlos Santana in 2023 in, my first base slot.
Oh no, of course not. But I mean, I just feel like maybe this change of scenery can help him. And then you have
Maybe.
your who's batting around him as well. Like those are things you got to look at when you get a player like this. When you see trades that happen that are like, oh, that trade didn't make any sense. But then if you look at the team and you're looking at, like, let's say for a hitter, you're looking at who's he gonna be batting around. It might help your odds of picking this person up and having them on your team. And I'm not saying I'm right, but those are probably things that you should be looking at. Who's he going to be hitting around? Like that kind of helps a lot
Bro,
sometimes.
I,
So,
I I have him pulled up on Baseball Savant right now. Do you know how old he is?
man, he probably lied about his age.
So he's been in the league since 2010, and he is currently 37 years old.
Oh
And
yeah, no,
you
he's
know,
probably like 47.
he's not a big dude, for like first baseman. He's
No, he's
5'11,
not.
210 pounds. This season he's batting 235. Last season was 202. The season before was 192, 216, 214, 199. This guy hasn't been good since 2019. And
Nah,
4 years is a long time. The on
it
base
is.
percentage is about 100 points higher than his batting average, but his batting average is 235. So when you're only getting on base at like a 330 clip, that's not great.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, he doesn't really hit for power. He does have 25 doubles this season, so that actually helps a little bit. 12 home runs this season so far. Walks are way down for him. He usually walks a lot more. The strikeouts are up. There's been times in previous seasons where he actually has more walks than strikeouts, but that definitely isn't the case anymore. 69 strikeouts in 94 games. So it's not that bad, but when you're only batting 235, it actually is pretty bad.
Gotcha. All right, man. Move on to the next.
Let's see some comments real quick. Jose Velasquez says, yeah, the chemistry helps. And did you guys see the meme of him dancing after the home run? I didn't see this comment until right now, so I'm not sure which player you're talking about. The dancing. Maybe Kike? Well, Kike didn't hit a home run though. So
he hasn't hit a home run yet.
It wasn't Kike. I'm not sure. But all right. Going back to the trade talks, the Dodgers acquire Lance Lynn. Ooh, I don't know about that one.
You know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know. The Dodgers might work some magic. Oh, he says Santana. No, I didn't see him dancing, but it wouldn't surprise me. He's a fun player. You know, he's had his moments, as a lot of Dominicans are. You know, they get their boogie on in the dugout, and it's fun to watch. You know, just like some Puerto Ricans in the Dodgers dugout with Kike Hernandez doing his little shimmy.
Dude, so I the thing with Lance Lynn, since we're talking about Lance Lynn, the Dodgers got him as trying to see if they can spark up that magic for him. I honestly didn't like the trade, but they didn't lose anybody for him either. You know, like it wasn't something where they traded away a big time player that we really need on the roster and stuff like that. So I just feel like, okay, you got him, but I mean his ERA is 6.
Yeah.
And you know, the run ratio for the Dodgers per game, it's 5.69. So pretty much that's a loss, right? If you have him on there. But if the Dodgers are going to work with his mechanics, which they've done, and they have a great track record of doing that, maybe it'll work. But I want to see his first start in Dodger blue and see how he does. From that, I will take, okay, that was a good trade or it was a bad trade. I mean, you said it yourself, right? We lost Syndergaard in the trade for Ahmed Rosario.
And we get basically the same guy in return.
Exactly. So,
but at least Lance Lynn is healthy. Syndergaard, you can never depend on like staying in the rotation because he keeps on getting hurt. Ever since that oblique injury back in like what was that 2016 or something like that.
Damn, ever since he's been in the league for a while, huh?
He has been in the league for a while, man.
Yeah, you're right. The oblique strain, and that he kept getting that strain. Like, I guess because he kept lifting weights.
Yeah, exactly. He tried to get too big, you know, and trying to look like Thor also. You know, other than the hair.
Exactly. Oh well,
I don't know. That's the Dodgers are kind of notorious for trying to change things around, or you know, change a player around, and maybe they could find the magic with Lance Lynn. They tried it with Noah Syndergaard, it didn't work. You know, they had Yu Darvish for a little bit, and that worked out pretty decently until they were stealing signs, and he got roughed up in the playoffs. But he was still a good starting pitcher. He's kind of on the decline now, but you know, Dodgers don't have to worry about that anymore because he's on a rival team and they just like to tee off on him now.
Okay, so Lance Lynn, I'm pretty sure he's a streamer. He has been a streamer because I've seen him on the waiver wire
this season, yes. But I'm sure his roster rate is going to go up significantly, knowing that a lot of people know that the Dodgers are good about making players better. So maybe he could right the ship. Maybe the Dodgers could help out. Mark Prior is a great pitching coach. He's helped out so many different pitchers. He helped Kershaw, get the changeup. That was something that wasn't part of his arsenal before. And when Kershaw got hurt and he wasn't throwing 93 miles an hour anymore, he introduced that changeup and he started getting strikeouts again. So there's a lot more to coaching pitching than just kind of like working on mechanics. There's also finding other ways to get outs, because all you're trying to do when you're a pitcher is just get outs. Doesn't matter if it's an out in the air, on the ground, a strikeout. It doesn't matter as long as you get the outs that you're required to get. And the Dodgers have the offense to back them up. So hopefully.
So you think that the roster, I guess the roster percentage is going to go up on Lance Lynn?
Yeah,
I'm going to be a streamer anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised if his roster percentage has already increased, just in this day that
Yeah.
that he's been acquired. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Okay. All right.
So sticking with the Dodgers for now, the Dodgers acquire Kike Hernandez. The Red Sox sent utility man to LA for a reunion with the Dodgers, as we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. And I really like this trade, man. I think he's good for the clubhouse, even though his bat isn't there. But like you said earlier, he is good in the playoffs. I believe he had a 3 home run game in the playoffs a few seasons ago. And,
Chicago.
this guy mashes lefty pitchers. So as long as he's in the lineup against lefties and not against righties, I think he'll be good. The Dodgers trade Noah Syndergaard, which we just mentioned also, to acquire Ahmed Rosario, shortstop. And we kind of went on that a little bit earlier also, so I don't think we need to say anything else. So supposedly Ohtani preferred to stay on the Angels. He said that he wants to be there just in case they make a run at the playoffs instead of being traded. I don't believe that. I think he was saying that. I think he was saying what the Angels fans and potentially owners wanted to hear. He's definitely a team player. He wants to be on a team, and he's not just all about himself. So he says on camera what needs to be said, but I'm sure behind closed doors he's saying other things to friends and family.
Don't forget Joe Kelly too. He came back to the Dodgers as well. Yeah, so
yes, Joe Kelly.
That was a Lance Lynn. Yeah,
part of the Lance Lynn trade. You can't forget the meme, right? The nice swing bitch to Carlos Correa. Never forget that.
Yeah.
Looks like the Angels are eyeing Jeimer Candelario. I was talking about they need hitting, and this is a decent start. In addition to the Giolito trade, the Angels have discussed a potential deal with the Nationals for Candelario. So that'd be a nice little boost for their lineup. Verlander from the Mets may not accept trade. There's a decent chance that Justin Verlander could use his no trade clause to stay with the Mets. Orioles looking at 3 starters. They have looked into Marcus Stroman, Lucas Giolito, who is not on the table anymore, and Jack Flaherty. They want an impact pitcher. And of those 3, I think that Giolito would be my personal favorite. Stroman next, and then Flaherty third. Honestly, I don't know what you can really get out of Flaherty, because the Cardinals are similar to the Dodgers, where they develop their pitching very well. And Jack Flaherty was supposed to be, the ace of the future, and it just hasn't panned out to be that way.
It hasn't.
I don't think that he is going to be too fantasy relevant in the future at all, unfortunately.
And this is where I kind of have like the problem. Everybody keeps bringing Flaherty out, and it's like, look at where he's pitching. He's pitching for the Cardinals. He's pitching for a top team that develops pitchers very well. And if he hasn't found it yet, then something is really wrong with him.
Yeah.
Do you really want that in your team? I wouldn't want that. And that's where you kind of need to understand the organization, because some organizations are good at certain things, at fielding, hitting, pitching, and the Cardinals are one of them. They develop their pitching very well.
Yes,
and just like the Dodgers, well. Dodgers work their magic to where they bring these nobodies to the Dodgers and they become somebodies.
Yeah, look at Tyler Anderson.
And that's funny. I was just gonna say him, and he's with the Angels, and he hasn't been able to find that to be that top 3rd starter or 2nd starter for the Angels. So, I mean, do you really want Jack Flaherty? Like, I personally, I kind of would stay away. And you just said it. He's not going to be a fantasy moving down the line or down the years. Is he going to be one of your fantasy top pitchers?
Javi said something actually pretty smart last Friday when we got on. He said that, there's a lot of struggling pitchers out there, and we see how Nick Pivetta is pitching right now. And Nick Pivetta was a struggling pitcher before as a starting pitcher, but now that he's not used as a starter, he comes in bulk relief, out of the bullpen, and all of a sudden he starts thriving, so start thinking out of the box like the Red Sox did with Pivetta. Maybe that's something that Lance Lynn could do. Maybe he could be long relief instead of a starting pitcher, or Alek Manoah. There's so many different pitchers that maybe you just need to try different things to see what works for each individual pitcher.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's really good too, because you start with your bullpen piece, throw out like the first inning. Remember, Urias
Let's
used
say
to be
like if
like
the
that.
lineup like starts with like 3 lefties, then you throw
Yeah,
a left-handed reliever out there for the first inning, and then you bring in your starting pitcher who's more the bulk reliever now, against the
yeah,
rest of the lineup, and then they don't have to face the 1, 2, and 3 hitters until the fourth inning, as long as they can, get the 1, 2, 3 innings that they're there to get.
yeah. Hopefully the MLB hears you, or these teams hear you, because that will add a lot more value
Listen
to
to me,
these pitchers.
MLB. Come on,
Yeah, yeah. Like that will
I'm
add
real
more value
power.
to these
Gotta,
pitchers.
gotta listen.
Like we got our fantasy going, man. Come on, listen to us.
All right, I'm going to try to get through the rest of these notes real quick because we got to do those 2-star pitchers, and I believe we
Yeah,
only
go for it.
have like 5 minutes left. Unfortunately,
God damn, yeah, keep
I
going,
know
man.
it
Keep
went by
going.
so fast, dude. Uh,
Super fast. Hey, that's why we don't get on together, because this happens.
right? we get to talking too much baseball, which is a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's
The
a good thing.
Reds
Go
have
for it.
assured that second baseman Jonathan India that there is a slim to none chance that he'll be traded at the deadline. Mets not yet open for business. That was, just a few days ago, but they just traded away David Robertson. Is that his name? David Robertson?
David Robinson, yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it looks like they are open for business. So that was a lie from the New York news channel. San Diego likely keeping Snell and Josh Hader. The Padres expect to hold on to both pitchers at the trade deadline. MLB.com's John Morosi said there is a legitimate trade interest in Verlander, particularly from the San Francisco Giants. I don't understand that one, because the Giants, they've been hot lately, but are they a World Series team? No, I don't see that. Marlins.
I'm gonna cut you right there. Sorry, man. It's just I feel like Verlander can go to a team like this, to the Giants, and then that kind of opens opportunities for the Giants, right? You get a Verlander, and then they go get like a freaking, I don't know, someone else that's gonna help them get to that World Series level. Verlander, and I talked to Ernie about this. Verlander going to the Angels. What do you think about that? Now that changes the dynamic of that team. I know Verlander is older, but he's been there. He knows how to get to the playoffs. He knows how to exercise in the playoffs and try to get to the World Series.
Now,
right?
if the Angels can actually acquire like a Verlander or a Scherzer, now that changes the dynamic.
Exactly.
Immensely.
And it could happen.
That's huge. But
yeah,
the Angels really have to go out there and really try to be buyers, not just go out and get one starting pitcher and Candelario. Like it has to be a lot more than that. And
we'll see what happens.
Scherzer are definitely a lot more than that. So that would legitimize the Angels.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want
no,
to
you're
throw
good.
that out there.
Give you 2
Go for it. Yeah.
Miami sends right-handed pitcher Dylan Flora to Minnesota in exchange for right-handed pitcher Jorge Lopez. So reliever for reliever, both are righties. That's a little weird. The Brewers tried to troll Elly De La Cruz. Home team had some trash talk on the board before Elly went 456 feet on him on the next at bat. So I actually have this. Where is it at? It is right here. Almost hit a home run in the first inning, but didn't. But then he comes back in the third or the fourth inning, and then he hits a 456-foot bomb. So it was more like a haha fuck you guys kind of thing that Elly De La Cruz did. And dude, this guy hits the ball so freaking hard, man. I really wanted to do a little segment on him. I'm just going to show this really quick. In the last week, he's only batting 150 with a 677 OPS. Last 2 weeks, 104 with a 402 OPS. So he has been extremely cold in that time period, but he's still hitting the ball exceptionally hard. And the quality of contact when he does make contact is really great. The problem is I see a lot of bad luck with Elly De La Cruz. He is hitting the ball right to fielders, and he's getting these outs, and he's hitting the ball on the ground a lot. Even though he's hitting the ball 100 miles an hour, 105 miles an hour, it's still going on the ground. And for a good infield defender, it's just going to be like a routine, out at first base, unfortunately. So I think if this guy can just elevate the ball just a little bit more consistently, I think that Elly De La Cruz will pick things back up, and he'll be back to his maybe not the 330 batting average that we saw him batting in the first 3 weeks of his call up, but I think closer to like a 280 batting average, somewhere in the middle there.
Hey, well, it's called they figured him out already. And that's what I kept telling people. He's too good to be in the MLB right now, but they're gonna figure him out. This is a major leagues, and that's what happens.
I know,
he's hitting the ball hard, but the fielder is standing where the ball is being hit. Why is that? It's called they're figuring them out. So that's what I think.
he needs to figure out how to raise his launch angle from 4 degrees to more like 9 degrees. So that way, instead of hitting it right to the third baseman or, whoever, it goes over their head, and instead of, I'll take the line drives, it doesn't have to be a 480-foot bomb every time you hit.
No, it doesn't.
Just hit the ball hard and hit it somewhat in the air, and you're going to get a lot of pop-ups that way, but that's okay. I'd rather have a pop-up than a ground out. At least with the pop-up, there's opportunity to score an RBI from third, if there's a runner on third and only 1 out or no outs,
Hey, and you saw this coming. That's why you made that trade.
Yes.
Definitely. I know you did. Everybody did. And that's the thing. Like as a baseball, like a baseball fan and a baseball, like I watched and played baseball like pretty much all my life. And like this is a game of adjustments. And of course, everybody's going to adjust to how to get you out. Now it's his turn. Is he too young to do that? Yes. And if he gets that adjustment done before the season, good for him. It's going to be something incredible to see. But usually, young players, young studs, they struggle once they find out how to get you out. So that 9 degree that you're talking about,
it takes a little bit longer than just a couple months for pitchers to figure out a hitter. But unfortunately, with Elly De La Cruz, he gets on top of the ball too much. Maybe it's because he's so freaking tall, and then he'll like the changeup that just it's right at the bottom of the zone, or even fastballs. He'll stand up tall and he'll just kind of swing at it instead of like Bellinger has that like really good swing where he can hit it when it's thrown low, but Elly De La Cruz doesn't have that. He stays tall the whole time. So maybe there's some adjustments that he can be working on in the off season.
Yeah. And I saw when I saw that trade, I'm like, this sneaky bastard is going to trade him because he knows what's going to happen. I knew it. Why people bashing on Lynn? I don't remember people had bad mouthing Syndergaard.
Bro, Tony, I was bad mouthing Syndergaard the whole time after the acquired Syndergaard.
I wasn't.
Hated that trade. I hated, or not the trade, the signing. I hated it so much. I'm like, really, Syndergaard, the guy that used to throw 98, that throws 92 now, that can't stay healthy. You want to get another Kershaw? It's like, what's the point of that? What's the point of having 2 unhealthy starting pitchers on your rotation?
You're forgetting one of them is Thor. Come on, Thor. You're getting Thor with the Dodgers.
Whatever.
Yeah, I know. Tony's in love with this guy. That's why he's in love with Lance Lynn. He's been talking about this forever, man. And you finally got it. Hopefully, I'm wrong, but I am a Dodger fan, and hopefully, I'm really wrong that he's not gonna, mess it up. But I don't know. I really don't care too much about it. It's like whatever. And there's so many people that are like all happy about it. They're like, hell yeah, we got Lance Lynn. And I'm like, tell me why that's a good thing. Like, convince me, change my mind. It hasn't happened yet. Hasn't happened yet.
Will's always hating. Well, I'm a realist, man. Like, like I said earlier, I guess I kind of hated on Shohei Ohtani a little bit earlier, also saying that I didn't want him to be on the Dodgers. But there's I don't know, man. I feel like it's not necessarily hating. It's trying to be baseball smart about things, and when you trade for someone that's like old and kind of like used to be proven but isn't anymore, I don't know. It's just I don't like it at all. Tony says the Dodgers will be fine, and of course the Dodgers will be fine because they're doing fine even without him. Hopefully they can get a few wins out of it, and that'll be
hey, put the one that Jose just put. Realists are haters. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, thanks for that.
Will,
Thanks for that.
Will. That's good. We do need that on the show, man. That's nothing wrong.
All
We
right,
need someone to
we are
just stick
at
up to
an
that.
hour and 4 minutes. So unfortunately, we ran out of time. I am going to put. Actually, I didn't add them to the pictures. Unfortunately, I made the
Oh,
pictures,
what?
but I do have my 2-star pictures on my phone. So I'm gonna bring up my
Nice.
phone real quick. Um,
Okay,
all
so
right.
Tony's
So
saying, oh, go ahead, go ahead, go
the,
ahead, go ahead,
the,
go ahead. Go ahead. Finish up.
so the,
Go
the,
ahead.
the the first 2-star pitcher that I want to get into, unfortunately, the last few starts have not been so great for him, but I really, really like the matchups, and that's Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez has shown that he can be an elite starting pitcher in the past. You know, he had like a
Yeah,
what was it, a sub 2 ERA a couple years
sub
ago.
two.
So,
Yeah.
he came back from injury this season, and lately, in the past month, he has a 6.11 ERA with a 175 WHIP, but he's at Miami and versus Kansas City, and I feel like you really
Mhm.
can't go wrong with those two matchups. Um, the only reason why I'm giving Ranger Suarez and the next guy I want to talk about for 2-star pitchers is only because there's not really a lot of good 2-star pitchers out there that are less than 70% rostered, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
Ranger Suarez is my first, and the next is JP France from the Astros, and he has versus Cleveland and at the Yankees. Now, I'm only recommending this because I don't know when Aaron Judge is going to be back, but if Aaron Judge does come back before that series, I would definitely say never mind on JP France, because Aaron Judge is probably going to go like 4 for 4 with 4 home runs.
Damn.
So
I hope so. I have him on my roster.
yeah, you do.
I need that.
But versus Cleveland, all they really have is Jose Ramirez, and they don't really have the best lineup. And the Yankees without Aaron Judge, they're terrible. So good matchups. He's not a big strikeout pitcher, but I have noticed that a lot of pitchers that are not strikeout pitchers do very well against the Yankees. You know,
Yeah.
I don't remember who I saw recently. He was not a strikeout pitcher at all. Maybe like a Kyle Hendricks type, and he ended up getting 8 strikeouts versus the Yankees. The Yankees just
Mhm.
swing at everything because they're the Bronx Bombers. They're just trying to hit bombs. So
But
those are
they're
my two
too
honest.
Aaron Judge dependent right now. So without Aaron Judge, I don't think they do good. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Will. So yeah, Tony, you got here super late, dude. It's your fault. You want to talk and you want to be like all into the conversation. Get
Yeah,
on at the
get
time
here
that
an
it's
hour
set to
ago,
get
man.
on.
So
Exactly.
So Tony says, then be real. Lynn gets a ton of strikeouts and goes deep into games. Hopefully, he'll be able to find a groove and show you guys up. That's exactly what we said earlier, man. If you were here earlier and you were paying attention,
An
then
hour ago.
yeah, man. Just go over to Carlos's house. He lives 15 minutes away from you. You can join the show there.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Not too
honestly,
far.
that is true. Lynn does get a ton of strikeouts, and does he go deep into games when he doesn't give up 6 earned runs in the first 3 innings? Then yeah, maybe he does go deep into games. But if he gives up a lot of runs in the first few innings, he's going to get pulled. And maybe the
Yeah,
Dodgers need to do what the Red Sox have done with Pivetta, and have him come out in the second inning and see if that works. We'll
yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah. Well, you guys, we are gonna get on Tuesday. We're gonna get on at, I believe, at 1 Pacific time, and then what is it, 4
Yeah, 4 o'clock
East time?
Eastern
Yeah.
time.
Okay, so you say that it ends at it ends at 4 Eastern, 5 Eastern. So we'll try to get on an hour before so we can talk all these trades, what ifs. It's just gonna be better talking about baseball and all this stuff. You have more stuff to talk about, Will?
I do, but we don't have time. So
Dang,
I'll
man.
save it. We're gonna have a lot of downtime on Tuesday when we get on, because there's
Yeah,
not going to be trades happening every second while we're on. So we can go over all this stuff on Tuesday. So for anyone's listening out there, please like this video and subscribe to our channel on YouTube and on Spotify. I do record. I download these episodes and then I upload them to Spotify always the next day, the next
yeah.
morning. So yeah, if you wanted to listen to us on Spotify, or actually it's Spotify video as well, you can do that. The link is, I'm actually going to put it up here. So if you have your cell phones out,
Take a
where is
picture
it?
or go ahead and,
There it is.
hit that
There's
highlight.
a
There you
QR
go.
code right there on the screen. So if you want to scan that QR code, I'll leave that up for a few seconds so you can scan that, and it'll take you to our link tree, which shows you our Instagram, our TikTok, our Facebook, our YouTube channel, Spotify, like
Yeah.
everywhere where we have social media. So
Look at you, super techie over there.
yeah, man, I learned from the best, Carlos.
Nah, man, we're learning together. That's what I tell everybody. I don't know how to do all this stuff. We're just learning as we're going, and this is the product that we're giving out. So this is pretty cool, man. We're on Spotify, we're on YouTube. I just like that it's growing. We're talking baseball, and I like the interaction that when we have people on here, that's something really cool. When like Jose, you're on here. Like huge shout out. Tony, you're on here, huge shout out, and everybody else that joins the show. Like that's what makes it fun. Like, and if
Yeah,
we can have everybody
yeah, it's
come
fun.
on Tuesday and talk about these trades, man, that'll be amazing.
And Jose
But yeah,
Velasquez is asking if it can be a little bit longer. And unfortunately, I have to go to work in about 5 hours. So it's time for me to go take a shower and go Mimi's for the night.
yeah, man. All right, we'll go ahead and do that since we are on Spotify. We'll let you guys know and we'll post it on Instagram. We're gonna have to blow it up this time, Will, because it's all of us that are getting on this show. It seems like it's gonna be 5 or 6 people on this show, so we are gonna make it to where everybody and on social media gets to know what time we're getting on. So, dude, anything before we log off?
No, I think we're good. I think instead of, or maybe next to this like Real Talk Baseball logo that we have in the top right corner, maybe I'll put the QR code up there as well.
Yeah, you can. Oh, actually, you should. You should. We should put it there. Yeah. Okay, I got you. We'll talk offline.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah. All right. I'm Carlos Baseball. This is Willpower, Real Talk Baseball. Signing out.
See you guys.
Okay.